All right. Welcome, everyone, to November's Moonwell Community Call. I'm Eli, or better known as Majin in the Moonwell community. And we have quite a special community call for y'all this month. We are joined by founding contributor Luke Youngblood. He's going to be giving us a little message to the Moonwell community. And then we're joined by Moonwell contributors from Gauntlet and Era. So we have Jake, who is a senior protocol manager at Gauntlet. Nick, who is a risk data scientist at Gauntlet, and Sean, who is head of product and design for both Gauntlet and Era. So we're privileged to have all these various Moonwell contributors on the call today. And I want to open things up with Luke giving an update to the Moonwell community. So Luke, I'm going to welcome you up to the stage.
Thanks, Majin. It's great to be here. Welcome everyone to our community call for November. Really excited to just share a quick update with the community about things that have been happening in the Moonwell ecosystem. So first, I just want to thank everyone in the community for being so active in governance. We have recently launched Wrapped Stake ETH from Lido as a community, and really excited about Wrapped Stake ETH joining CB ETH as a liquid staking token that you can use as a collateral asset on Moonwell. We really want Moonwell to be the hub for liquid staking token collateral, because this will enable a very powerful use case that many people have been seeing a lot of success with on other layer 2s and on mainnet, and that is leverage staking. So leverage staking is a huge use case for our community, and we're really excited to enable that by being the first lending protocol on Base to launch support for wrapped staked ETH. Also, I want to just point out that there's a Gov proposal up or in the forum from Warden Finance to launch Rocket Pool ETH. So we're also excited to welcome Rocket Pool ETH once it goes through governance. We really want Moonwell to be the hub for liquid staking tokens and enable this powerful use case. Want to thank the Coinbase team as well and the Build on Base team for all of their support. You know, they've really been hitting it out of the park, bringing all these great assets, collateral assets to the Base ecosystem. And we couldn't be more excited to be partnering with them and, you know, helping to grow the ecosystem together along with all the other great projects on Base. Wanted to give a shout out to the Aerodrome team. You know, Aerodrome is the top DEX on Base. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to check it out. Aerodrome has been a fantastic flywheel for ecosystem growth, and really want to encourage you, if you are an Aero holder, to vote for our pool. That's the Well ETH pool. It helps our community build liquidity and helps us build our protocol and liquidity so that we don't have to spend well incentives encouraging liquidity to be really strong on Base. Also want to give an update on other collateral assets we're very interested in adding to the protocol. Wrapped Bitcoin from BitGo, we hope is coming to Base soon, and we're really keen to add Bitcoin collateral to the Moonwell protocol on Base. We want to make Base the best place to borrow against your crypto portfolio, and supporting Bitcoin collateral, especially as these Bitcoin ETFs start to gain traction, will be really key to growing our community and growing the Base ecosystem. Another thing to mention is that real world assets are also a focus. Although we don't really have any real world assets yet on Base, when those come to Base, we hope to be able to add them as collateral assets. And that will also enable a very powerful use case, which is, of course, leverage against real world assets. So we hope to support them as collateral soon as they arrive on Base. Also, you'll learn about some new updates from Majin, but I want to just thank some of our localization contributors. You may not know this, but the Moonwell app is now available in multiple languages. And we have a strong team of contributors from different countries all over the world that are helping to translate the app you see into the language of choice for whoever wants to use it. Today, we support Portuguese, Spanish, and Chinese, and we hope to have Korean coming soon. So shout out to all the contributors that are helping to translate the Moonwell app into local languages so that everyone can use Moonwell. And then also want to shout out to another partner in our community, Definitive Finance, or definitive.fi, if you want to check them out. They offer a really interesting new DeFi building block, which is basically vaults that allow you to use Moonwell and in a more user-friendly way. So for example, you can simply deposit any of the Moonwell collateral assets into Definitive, and they'll take care of compounding for you. and sort of managing your position in an automated way. And they give you some nice reporting capabilities so you can see how much you've earned and really kind of help you to automate your DeFi positions. So shout out to definitive.fi if you'd like to check them out. And then I also want to thank the Moonbeam community for your support as well. Moonbeam Ignite incentives are live, and we couldn't be more excited about supporting new collateral assets on Moonbeam as well. There are new liquid staking tokens on Moonbeam, VDOT from Bifrost, and ST.dot from the StellaSwap team, and we hope to be able to add them as collateral assets as soon as we have Chainlink price feeds or other price feeds that are secure and safe enough for us to add as collateral assets. So really, again, just thank you to the community for all your support. I want to turn it over to Eli and the rest of the team for the rest of the community call. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for that update, Luke. I'm going to try not to be too redundant in my updates, but there are a few things that you spoke on that I'm also going to touch on briefly. But just for some more high-level big Moonwell updates, because it has been a really busy past month or two. We're starting with new markets. Like Luke mentioned, the newest market on Moonwell is for Lido's wrapped staked ETH. This is the second LST or LSD supported on Moonwell. For people that don't know, just really briefly, so these liquid stake tokens or LSTs are really neat. Traditionally, when you staked your tokens, basically, like if I wanted to stake ETH or stake Glimmer, I would stake it directly. I would help secure the network. And in return for securing the network, I would receive additional Glimmer or Ethereum rewards. But, you know, my capital is locked. So the big unlock for these LSTs was that basically you stake in like Lido, for example, you stake in their liquid staking platform. And in return, you still earn rewards, but in return, you get this tokenized version that represents your staked, that represents your staked position. Sorry, and then that allows you to use it in other DeFi platforms or protocols. It's not just stuck. LSTs have been a huge unlock over the last couple of years, and Moonwell. It's very exciting now that wrapped staked ETH is live. A quick update on that. So Gauntlet serves as supply and borrow cap guardian for the base deployment on Moonwell, and they've already raised the supply and borrow caps for wrapped staked ETH. And Warden serves as emissions or incentives admin for the base deployment, and they have enabled well rewards for supplying wrapped staked ETH on Moonwell. And then, like Luke mentioned, there is also a forum post to add Rocket Pool ETH on Moonwell. So in very short term, we could have potentially 3 different LST variants of Ether on Moonwell, which is super exciting. And also on the topic of new markets, so native USD was launched as well on both Moonwell's base deployment and Moonwell's Moonbeam deployment. For the base deployment version of USDC, there is strong liquidity. We also have a wrapped variant USDBC, which is slowly, as deprecation might be a strong word, but it is slowly being phased out in favor of this native version. So if you do hold USDBC, you are able to swap for native USDC on base. And then on Moonbeam, there's still a lack of liquidity. There is now what's called sufficiency, which essentially means now it is possible to bring native USDC from the relay or from Asset Hub, Polkadot Asset Hub onto Moonbeam. But we are still waiting on things like exchange support to be able to withdraw and deposit directly from your sex of choice to Polkadot. So, and then like Luca mentioned, we have seen amazing localization efforts of late, including the Spanish, Portuguese, or the app being translated into Spanish, Chinese, and Portuguese. And like Luke mentioned, Korean's being worked on, German, Russian, and Ukrainian and Thai are also being actively worked on. And we would love, we actually don't have a member in our community to take on French, Japanese, Arabic. So if you speak any of these languages or any other that you would like to see supported, please join our community. It's discord.gg/moonwellfi. Let us know your interest, and yeah, we would be super, super thankful. We really want Moonwell to be, the most accessible and intuitive on-chain finance app. And part of that is, actually having the app in the language you speak and you read. And that is something that I think the Moonwell community feels has been undervalued in DeFi and in crypto. So we kind of want to take the lead and be a good example for other apps. So yeah, please let us know if you would like to assist there. Really quickly as well. So the Moonwell community has applied for an Optimism retroactive public goods grant. So basically, Base, we are deployed on Base now. Base is an OP chain. It's built on the Optimism OP stack. And projects on Base are eligible to apply for a retro public active goods funding grant. Basically how they do grants is traditionally grants, like you would say, I want to do X, please fund me and I will do X. But with Optimism Retro PGF, it's like I did X and I would retroactively like a grant for that work I did in the past. So the Moonwell community has submitted temporal governance, which is our novel cross-chain governance solution that allowed the Moonwell community to activate the protocol on Base and also has enabled the Moonwell community to govern the Base protocol from Moonbeam in a cross-chain manner. So if you are an OP badge holder, we would love your support, your review of our proposal, and your support. A couple other quick things, and then we'll bring Gauntlet and Era up. I'm sorry. So there have been some big dashboard updates. We're going to discuss the Gauntlet dashboard updates here in a minute with Jake and Nick from Gauntlet, but also the Warden dashboard has added Base support, as well as the Into the Block dashboard has added Base support. And again, when we discuss this with Gauntlet, we will show you guys how to access these various dashboards from the Moonwell app. But they're all a great resource for the Moonwell community. So we want to make sure that you guys know that they exist, where to access them, and how to leverage them. A couple other things. Moonbeam Ignite has been rolling on. There was a really good Twitter space themed around tools and tips for DeFi. If you're new to on-chain finance and DeFi and lending and borrowing and all these and swapping on dexes, that space was incredibly informative. So I encourage you to go check out that space. You can find the links on our Twitter feed as well as the Moonbeam Twitter feed. And also there is an ongoing Moonbeam airlift campaign around Moonbeam Ignite. They involve various educational tasks. And I believe there are some USDC rewards up for play as well. So you can find links to that Moonbeam airlift campaign again on the Moonwell Twitter account as well as the Moonbeam Twitter account. Also, I did want to flag there is a new delegates page on the Moonwell app. And if you're interested, and for you, those that don't know, a Moonwell delegate is essentially someone who votes on other people's behalf in governance. So let's say you have well tokens, but you don't have the time to actively vote. You can delegate your tokens to another and they can vote on your behalf. This new delegates page allows you to quickly see which delegates are active, who's voting, who's submitting proposals. It's a great way for one, if you're someone who wants to delegate, to go, see who's active, who I should delegate to. And then two, if you are interested in becoming a Moonwell delegate, the first step is creating a delegation pitch post on the Gov form in the delegation pitch section. And then also, if you go into your settings on the Moonwell Gov forms, you'll see a box to enter your ERC20 address that you would like people to delegate to, and then also a box where you can enter a short bio. If you fill these out, then we can use that information to add that to your delegate card on the Moonwell app. So yeah, if you're interested in becoming a delegate, please reach out to us on Discord and we can help you walk through any of these steps. And then last thing, so we recently had our first episode of Moonwell Radio, which is our new Twitter Space series. Episode 1 was with Armand, who is the head of on-chain finance for Base. He's such an elegant speaker. It was a really great conversation about Base, Moonwell, the future of on-chain finance, things we're excited about, blockers that still remain in our way. I just really encourage you guys to go check out that if you're interested. And then I do have some exciting news about episode 2 will be next week with Rainmaker. And Rainmaker is a really neat, brand new, non-custodial crypto wallet that you can find on the iOS App Store. And it leverages account abstraction. So you don't have to worry about things like gas fees or seed phrases. They also have built-in strategies, some that leverage Moonwell to allow their users to generate yield. And a lot of their work with account abstraction aligns with the Moonwell community's ethos around simple to use, accessible financial tools. So we're very excited to talk with them. Please join us next week for that. Be on the lookout for an upcoming announcement on Twitter. And that is it for my updates. I want to now bring up Mr. Sean from Era and Gauntlet, head of product, up to the stage. One moment. Hey, Sean. How's it going?
Howdy, folks. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Good to have you here as well. I have to say before, I wanted to be very prepared for this call. So I listened to your recent podcast interview Q&A with Bond Protocol. And it was super informative. You're a great speaker. So I'm super stoked to talk with you here.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to talk about the Moonwell Vault. It's been a while since I've come on one of these community calls, but this is always a fun time.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about it, and I do appreciate your regular updates on the Gov forum, but still, it is nice to actually talk in person and speak with the community directly. So
definitely, we've got some exciting updates for today as well. So I'm keen to chat with everyone here.
Sweet. Sean, maybe to kick things off, could you give our community like a brief intro to Era? Like, what is Era? What unique challenges does Era address?
Yeah, for sure. I know it's been a while since we've actually kicked off this pilot. It's always good to go back to basics and make sure everyone knows what we're trying to solve here. So Era is a protocol that provides autonomous treasury management for DAOs. It solves what we found to be 3 key problems when operating prudent DAO treasury management practices. 1, challenging on-chain coordination and voting. 2, misaligned stakeholder and voter incentives. And then 3, maybe most importantly, a lack of clear goals around treasury strategy. So Era is a protocol that we built to simplify the process for DAOs to engage in prudent treasury management practices. DAOs should just have to pick their top-line objective, the assets that they care about, and then let Era guardians maximize that objective. And we'll talk about that more. So, how does it really work? For each DAO, we spin up a separate non-custodial Era vault. The DAO will decide on its goal. For example, I want to take on some risk while generating safe yield. It's going to decide which assets it wants the vault to hold, for example, ETH and USDC, and then deposit that initial set of funds. Once that initial deposit is done, a vault guardian then will come in and rebalance that vault on a regular cadence to hit the DAO's goal. Vault guardians are experienced risk or treasury managers who are proposing rebalances against the vault in order to achieve that predetermined goal by the DAO. And we'll ground this when we go into the Moonwell vault, but we can talk through then what that is.
Sure. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's pretty clear, at least from my perspective. You mentioned, I think, on-chain coordination, misaligned incentives, lack of clear goals, and also DAOs are just structured differently. Some DAOs have, they have maybe a treasury management council. Some it's kind of like a free for all. I don't know. It just, from my perspective, the need for something like Era is clear. Kind of to put things on easy mode, for lack of a better term, or just let Era kind of handle this and not have the DAO either be stagnant or stuck in the weeds, and just the need is clearly there for a solution like Era. Moving on to the next question, Sean. For those who may not know, an Era Vault was established for the Moonwell DAO back in May of this year. I could be wrong. I believe it was the first public Era Vault. I know
it was.
It was? Okay.
It was. That's correct. Yeah, it was the Moonwell Apollo Era Vault was the first Era Vault. So we're thrilled to be back here talking with everyone.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know since y'all have launched one for Threshold Protocol, I believe, but it's definitely a privilege for Moonwell to be the first. But I was wondering if you could shed some light on the structure of the vault and how it's been performing to date. I did notice recently with this market upturn, the vault is above the 250,000 number that it began at. But
yeah, definitely. So I'll dive into it, and just to be very clear, the privilege is all ours. I mean, we appreciate the Moonwell community coming in and working with us on this first vault. It's meant a lot to us, and we've learned a lot along the way. So appreciate all the support from the community here. Let's talk about the Era Vault that we launched for Apollo. So this vault has been live on Polygon since May. At the time we ran through governance, the DAO decided to have a volatility targeted vault consisting of ETH and USDC, which targeted a 15% portfolio volatility. This was of the more aggressive options. The options were 5%, 10%, 15%. The community decided on this 15% number. Yep. So what is actually happening on a regular basis? Gauntlet is coming in. We're acting as the vault guardian and rebalancing this vault to target that 15% portfolio volatility. I think one thing that may be a question is why Polygon? Why are we even on Polygon when we have Moonriver, Moonbeam? Why are we on Polygon instead? There's actually two reasons that we did this at the time on Polygon. One was a market structure issue. There's just not sufficient on-chain liquidity for the rebalances that we wanted to do on Moonriver. And then two, Balancer, which our initial contracts were built on, was not launched on Moonriver at the time. So we didn't have a mechanism of deploying our contracts there. A lot has changed since, and we'll talk about that as we look into kind of what we've launched since then. But okay, maybe before even doing that, I think you hinted at this. Let me just dive in to the vault itself. So here it is. Okay. And okay, great. It seems like everyone can see my screen. So this is the Moonwell Apollo vault. This dashboard has been live since we launched this pilot with Moonwell. You can find it at app.era.finance. If you look in the forums, we have a bunch of links there. They all link to the same dashboard. So the vault is currently valued at 260K. One interesting part of this pilot is that as many of the folks in the Moonriver community will know, the multi-chain got hacked, right? And so we started this pilot before multi-chain got hacked. So we took these 250K, we unbridged it, we moved it to Polygon, and we have it in this Era vault. It's quite fortuitous that we did this. If that hadn't happened, then these 250K would be worth close to zero right now. And so it's great to see. I think having it on Polygon has really helped just bolster it. Now, in terms of performance, the vault is valued at 260K. It's up about 5% over that initial allocation. You can see here we took in initially around 250K, and then we have been rebalancing between ETH and USDC since. Just a simple way of framing Era's value is looking at comparables. So what we've done is also shown hey, had we held an equivalent version of just USDC or just wrapped ETH, what would happen? Largely, because of the nature of volatility targeting and because we're allocating between these two assets, we generally expect the value of the vault to be in between these two, the pink and purple line, the USDC and wrapped ETH line. And that's intentional, right? Like we're not holding all ETH, so we don't get to capture all the upside from ETH, and we're not holding all stable, so we're not flat. And that's exactly what you can see is happening here, where now as we are getting in slightly under ETH, but much above stables. And this is intended, right? This is the value of having a volatility targeted portfolio. It allows us to adjust for risk.
We kind of get the best of both worlds, right, Sean? So like in up times, like we've seen over the last few weeks, things go up, but also when things are worse, we're not fully affected.
Precisely. And like if we look at the vault balances, we can roughly see where they are. I'll scroll to the bottom really quickly. You can see kind of the proportions of the assets in the vault and how they have changed over time. We haven't been rebalancing a crazy amount, like a crazy range. It's largely stayed between, we started with 70-30, and as volatility has decreased and now increased again, we're at about a 60-40. So we're not trading within like some massive range here. It's actually quite tapped.
Right.
The only other chart I'll go over here, and obviously, if the community has any questions, please feel free to ask. But just kind of how are we tracking against this volatility number, right? Like the goal is to target this 15% portfolio volatility. That is that pink line over here. Where the vault value is actually this purple line. So you can see as volatility spikes or craters, we end up correcting very quickly and getting back to that 15% target. Something similar, exactly what's happening right now, where we're going to now bring down the allocation of ETH because we've seen a large vault spike. So that's the dashboard. As always, come check it out on app.era.finance. And of course, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask either on the forums or in Discord.
Sweet. Thank you for that, Sean. So just if you do have questions, there is an update in Era Vault forum post that Sean has diligently been updating on. And just, feel free to share your questions there. Sean, if it's okay, I have a couple more questions for you before we transition
Please.
The Gauntlet side of the house. One, really quickly, everyone knows, security is everything in DeFi. I was wondering if you could just quickly delve into kind of maybe the security architecture of these non-custodial vaults and how do they maintain the integrity and autonomy of the DAO's assets while ensuring protection?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We think that prudent treasury management actually means having transparency, visibility, and control over your assets at all times. So as I kind of mentioned before, Era is a non-custodial solution. That means that the owner of the vault can withdraw the funds at any time. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of technical depth here. We launched this Moonwell Apollo pilot on version 1 of our contracts. This was built on Balancer. So, it used Balancer under the hood as both like the execution engine as well as the custody engine. I'll talk about this in a sec, but we've since upgraded our contracts and, we no longer use Balancer under the hood. But just for V1, really, you're getting the security of Balancer right out of the box. And essentially, it just allows the Guardian being Gauntlet, to rebalance those portfolio weights on a regular basis in a structured way. So, core tenet here really is that Era is a non-custodial vault for DAOs.
Awesome. You mentioned V2 contracts. So just last couple of questions. I want to look towards the future a little bit, starting with kind of the long-term vision for Era in relationship to Moonwell. Are there any plans to maybe gauge community sentiment in regards to funding additional Era vaults for Moonwell's deployments on Base or Moonbeam?
Yeah. So I think there's two things that we're particularly excited about right now. So one is, I kept saying V2, just hinting at it here and there, but we have since launched V2 of our vaults, and V2 allows a lot more expression in terms of, hey, what is the objective you want to solve, as well as what is the different yield sources you want to tap into, different assets you want to hold. So, we're definitely very keen on moving the existing Moonwell Apollo Vault over to V2. That's something that we'll go and temp check in the forums and then kind of kick off that process. And then, as you mentioned, we're also pretty keen on spinning up another vault on base. And, I think something that would be really cool would be actually having the governance contract itself be the owner of the vault on base. This is something we've done with Compound, another one of our clients that we just kicked off, where the Governor Bravo time lock is actually the owner of the vault. So that's something that we think could be very cool for base. Definitely we'll bring it to the forums and have a cool combo there. Just in terms of like migrating to V2. So, what's the real difference here, right? So as you guys saw in this just quick demo I gave, we're holding USDC and ETH right now.
Yep.
That just leaves a lot of capital sitting on the sides, right? One, we could be holding wrap staked ETH, which would be generating yield. We could be using USDC in either base, Moonwell, Compound, Aave to generate yield on those holdings. And we can also just do different things. Let's say that we wanted to, diversify the treasury out of specific reserve assets. We can now do that with our V2 contracts. So, I'll just touch on this really quickly. We have launched 2 new pilots with additional customers, as you said, Eli, Threshold and Compound. Both of them are deployed on our V2. For both of these customers, we're selling out of low liquidity assets, for example, T, 0x, or BAT, and then moving that into a volatility targeted portfolio, but this time a key feature being it generates yield. And this is via Aave USDC, or in the future could be Compound, or even something that we've talked with Luke about, just potentially even Moonwell USDC, which would be very cool for us on base. Sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I had no idea about this V2 functionality and be able to actually like generate yield using the vault's assets. This is super exciting stuff.
Yeah, so we're really keen on this. I think, just in terms of next steps, we'll be posting on the forums to just get community sentiment on migrating from V1 to V2, and then a separate kind of thread around like spinning up potential new vaults. So that's kind of in the immediate term for Era, and it's a really exciting time. We're happy to bring our new upgraded contracts to Moonwell, because I think, being the first customer, it'll be really fun to get everyone migrating over to V2.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, thank you so much for your time today. I did want to mention happy 1-year birthday. I think we're like a month late, and wishing you the happy birthday to Era. But
thank you.
1 year to Era, and the future is bright, man. You'll have to come back and give us another update in 2024 if you're willing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to come back anytime. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, and we are going to end the call here with a little chat with our friends from Gauntlet. We have Nick and Jake. So Nick is a risk data scientist for Gauntlet, and Jake is a senior protocol manager. Both of you are very active in the Moonwell community. You've seen them post on the forums and Telegram and Discord, and we are very happy to have them here on the call. How's it going, guys?
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, having us.
Thanks so much for having us, Eli. Very excited to join.
Of course. Thank you. So, if you're involved in DeFi or on-chain governance, you're probably no stranger to Gauntlet. You guys are, a stalwart. Y'all are a, figurehead, a huge presence in the DeFi and on-chain governance community. But I do, for those unfamiliar with Gauntlet, could you guys, or one of you, please give us a brief intro or overview? What's Gauntlet's core mission? How does Gauntlet uniquely contribute to the DeFi ecosystem?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for giving us that warm introduction, Eli.
Sure.
So I'll start with the core mission. So Gauntlet's core mission is really to provide quantitative and economic optimization solutions to help DeFi protocols, blockchain ecosystems, and DAOs efficiently manage risk as they grow their team and their protocol. So when Gauntlet started as kind of one of the first DeFi vendors or beta DAO services in 2019, we did custom market risk reporting. While today we kind of strive to be a leader in kind of DeFi data science, managing risk through kind of countless market cycles and risk events, while also exploring new opportunities in providing applied research services as well. So how do we kind of uniquely contribute? We try to partner with kind of DeFi's trailblazers, innovators, and leaders, just like Moonwell, to help kind of inform and achieve, the Moonwell strategic goals, while providing innovative research and data science tooling. So just like the dashboard that you mentioned was one of our tools. We've had an amazing year plus working with Luke, Magin, and the Moonwell community, focusing on risk management. and we're really excited for more. Our risk platform kind of continuously monitors and fine tunes risk parameters for Moonwell, striking that perfect balance between capital efficiency while minimizing insolvency risk, or otherwise known as like protocol losses. So how do we do that? We use our custom modeling and simulation platform to gather data from all of DeFi and turn our analyses and research into governance proposals. And we use these governance proposals to maintain the health of our partners and their ecosystems. We're super, super proud of being, some of the leading kind of governance participants for our partners like Moonwell. I think we've submitted a few dozen proposals over the lifetime of our partnership, and we're definitely super excited to submit dozens more as Moonwell continues to grow. And specifically excited about all the base growth that's been going on recently. Go ahead, Eli.
I was going to say thank you for that good rundown. And I know from the Moonwell community's perspective, everyone's super thankful for Gauntlet's various contributions, from those like regular actions like providing risk parameter recommendations, helping vet new asset listings. We've just seen that with wrap-staked ETH, into more time-sensitive situations, like the support that Gauntlet provides and the knowledge they share during events like this year's multi-chain bridge exploit. It's just really, really nice knowing that Gauntlet has the community's back.
Thanks, Eli.
So guys, I did want to discuss Gauntlet's risk dashboard. It's a really important tool for our community. And I know there's been some significant updates of late, including the recent addition of an account explorer.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that maybe we could take a couple minutes to maybe briefly walk through the dashboard, let people know where they can find it and what tools are available for them.
Absolutely. So I can go ahead and show my screen, and I'll walk through both our dashboard and the new account explorer feature. So can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Great. So I'm just going to show how you would find the Gauntlet dashboard from Moonwell. So I go into Launch App, click on these three dots, and there's our Gauntlet dashboard link right here.
Yep.
And here we'll have a link right to the Gauntlet dashboard. So when you first come to the Gauntlet dashboard for Moonwell, you'll see kind of an overarching summary of risk management for Moonwell.
Hey, Jake.
Jake, you have to change.
I think we're still showing the.
Sorry. Let me change that really quick. I guess the link does not follow the links that I'm pressing. Here we go. Can you guys see the dashboard now?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, when you first join the Gauntlet dashboard, you'll see an overarching summary of risk management on Moonwell.
Yep.
We summarize those on the main screen into three metrics: value at risk, liquidations at risk, and borrowing power. And this is the overall summary for all three Moonwell instances. I'm not going to go through every single button and chart for the dashboard itself, but I'll go over kind of the main metrics and charts themselves. And then anybody in the community can feel free to ask us questions or poke around the dashboard as it's publicly accessible. Value at risk is basically in a risk event, in a major market change, how many losses will the Moonwell instances experience? So how much insolvency loss will happen if there are major price changes? Liquidations at risk represent how many liquidations will occur. That's different from value at risk, given that value at risk represents insolvencies that cannot be paid back. Borrowing power represents the full borrowing power of all three Moonwell instances. You can also scroll down to get a little bit more granular, checking out how those metrics compare and contrast throughout the three Moonwell instances of Base, Moonbeam, and Moonriver, as well as how those three instances relate to each other, taking up total metrics like supply by market and borrow by market. In the interest of time, I'm just going to quickly switch to the Account Explorer tab.
Okay.
So I'll actually show the base instance and jump over to the Account Explorer. So this is our newest feature upgrade that we've launched for Moonwell. We're really, really excited about this feature. Both if you are a user with an open position on the Moonwell ecosystem, or if you're looking to vote and get informed about Moonwell governance, or if you're a new user and you're trying to understand what is the dynamic and composition of Moonwell borrowers and suppliers, this tool should be able to give you some really cool information. So if I'm a user looking to look through my account, I can go ahead and search my account and find individual positions and see how they fare. But I think one interesting thing that we can show as risk managers is how we use this tool. So how might we use this tool? We can actually filter, search, and sort this tool very easily, and it will show up in the graph. So I'll actually show right now the overall borrower health on the base instance. And by sorting the health factor, the chart immediately updates and shows all of the different positions with the bubble size representing the weight of the actual position themselves. So for example, this bubble shows an account with 1.1 million supplied, a total borrow of 818K, and a health factor of above 1. This red line represents the health factor of the account. If your health factor goes below 1, you are able to be liquidated. One thing this tool shows is that from some of the lowest health factor positions, we actually see as risk managers that this is pretty safe, because we can see really quickly that these are mostly recursive positions. So these are users who are borrowing CB ETH and borrowing CB ETH, or borrowing WETH and supplying WETH. As I look through this, this feature, you can also filter by total collateral and see kind of what the largest collateral and borrowed users are on Moonwell, to understand what people are borrowing, what people are supplying, and where borrower concentration might be as well. If Gauntlet were to recommend a collateral factor change, and if the governance and the community were to pass that, you would then see this red line shift to the right or left. To the right, depending on if the collateral factors were decreased, and to the left if they were increased. And this would allow borrowers who are near that fringe of liquidation to understand how at risk they are of liquidation, depending on the collateral factor change. I can keep going, Luke, but I know that we're a little bit short on time. Any specific questions about the Account Explorer?
No, I think this is, I do want to flag, I think you can also access this from each token's page as well. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Of course, you can filter by token from that main page also, but
yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it's nice if you're interested in supplying just to one market, or you want to gain a little more insight before you supply or borrow. It could be useful to go directly to that tokens page.
Absolutely, great call out, Eli.
But no, we are a little over time, but thank you so much, Jake, for showing us this new feature of the dashboard. I do encourage everyone to utilize the Gauntlet Dashboard, as it's a very powerful tool. And before we do move on, Nick, I do have a question or two for you, if that's okay. One, I do want to flag that, or Jake, while I was gonna say while you have the dashboard up, but you can also see Gauntlet's recommendations, like active recommendations, parameter recommendations on that dashboard. Here, I think he's pulled it back up. Anyway, so right now, Gauntlet has submitted proposals for Moonbeam recommendations and base recommendations. And these are the values you're seeing here as on-chain proposals. Voting is live currently. And if you have delegated well, you are eligible to vote. And Nick, I just wanted to briefly ask you, just really quickly, what's the purpose of these regular risk parameter recommendations, and how often are they submitted?
Yeah, they're submitted on a monthly basis overall. And the purpose of them in general is as Jake mentioned earlier, we're constantly monitoring risk and overall liquidity on chain in general. And when we give these risk parameters, we're basically utilizing the tooling we have via simulation alerting to make decisions on basically managing the risk, and also trying to improve capital efficiency. As you can see with these 3 recs we provided, they're kind of risk on actions in general. And we decided based off our simulation tooling to basically increase those recs to hopefully increase capital efficiency, especially within the staked assets, as Luke called out earlier, trying to grow that market.
Exactly. All right, Nick, one last question for you. So we did mention previously there's this new wrap stake ETH market. It went live Sunday evening, and then Gauntlet was quick to, after analyzing or modeling after analyzing the available liquidity using your financial modeling tools, recommended an increase in the supply and borrow cap, effectively enabling supply and borrow right, because this new market launched with near zero, essentially zero borrow and supply cap. So I just really want to quickly ask you, well, basically Gauntlet was able to do this because the Moonwell DAO or Moonwell community has designated Gauntlet as borrow and supply cap guardian. So I just want to quickly ask you what that role entails and why being able to quickly adjust caps like that was just done with wrap-stake ETH could be beneficial to the protocol.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, the functionality of Guardian is like a really cool functionality, honestly, and it actually is like super beneficial to the community. Just to go over like the history of this, like Moonbase was like initialized this past August, and like the community designated Gauntlet to serve as like supply and borrow cap guardian. This role was created to delegate adjustments of caps to a party who specializes in making these recommendations, which kind of falls in line with Gauntlet. Prior to this, we did it via governance. I guess one of the beautiful things of this is that the role allows Gauntlet to adjust caps on the Moonwell base market like instantaneously via smart contracts without going through the governance process, which includes like 3 days of voting on top of like the 2 days of time lock. So that's basically 5 days of waiting for a rec to go through on the caps. Outside of this like process efficiency, there's other reasons for it being important. The ability to make these recommendations quickly allows us as like risk managers to proactively make cap adjustments in response to market risk events, on-chain DEX liquidity fluctuations, and just changes within Moonwell's like liquidity pool usage. Outside of like that wrap stake instance you brought up, there was like another instances a couple of days ago where we had like the USDC native on base. We actually were monitoring the pool usage, and we noticed that like there was basically it was a decent like increase in bar usage within that pool, but eventually it definitely had a spike from November 7th to the 9th. Let me see if I can do it real quick. I'll even show the screen so you guys can see this within our tooling as well. So another thing too is if you go here and you go in base and you look at our specific assets, if you go down here and past this beautiful risky borrow tool, you can get down to our supply cap or our cap usage chart. And then if you zoom in, you can open it up. But yes, you can see like right here in that instance, we had a pretty large usage growth within the pool usage that actually crossed like a 75% threshold for us, where is usually internally where we decide like, hey, we gotta reevaluate this in general.
Right.
And you can see that it also continued to spike up to 83%. Well, at that moment, we actually decided to utilize the Guardian gap, and you can see within the same day, it just basically dropped down back to a 50% borrow cap percentage. After like evaluating like liquidity as well. This is like a pretty cool action, or a pretty powerful action in general. It allowed us to create more borrow liquidity and just also promote higher capital efficiency in the markets. So, yeah,
that's amazing. Thank you for that. That was a great explanation. So yeah, we'll leave it there. We're over time. I do want to point out that Nick, I believe you posted a Gauntlet quarterly update forum post that includes all of these actions, all of these efforts, these massive efforts that Gauntlet has made, contributed to the Moonwell community over the past few months. So if you want to check out just how active Gauntlet has been in Moonwell governance and in the Moonwell community, I would encourage you to go check out that post. Yeah, big thank you, Nick and Jake and Sean for joining our call today. Really appreciate it, guys. We're a bit over time. I do want to end the call with a few shout outs. One huge shout out to the localization team, Mariana, Fachucky, Faye, Tiger, Meta, Intercake, 0x Prank. Thank you guys so much for all the work you guys do. Two of those members as well, I want to give individual shout outs to Mariana. She translated the entire app into Portuguese. She runs the Portuguese Moonwell Twitter account, and she was also, she represented Moonwell recently at Blockchain Rio. So there was a big speech with representatives from Moonbeam, other Polkadot projects, and Moonwell. And Mariana, represented Moonwell on the big stage at Blockchain Rio this year. So big shout out to her. then big shout out to Fachucky as well. He's been joining these regular Nacion crypto spaces on X, helping to bring attention to Moonwell in Latin America. Nacion Crypto as well are Moonwell contributors, and their mission is to empower people all throughout Latin America with crypto. Thank you guys so much. And then last shout out to Curly Brackett. He's been a great Moonwell delegate. Recently submitted another batch of quote unquote reward speed proposals that adjust the rates, reward rates for well and infam rewards on Moonwell. So thank you, Curly. And then guys, if you're not already a member, please join our Discord at discord.gg/moonwellfi. Follow us on Twitter or x.com/moonwelldefi. Go check out the Gauntlet Dashboard, check out the Era Dashboard, and be sure to tune in to Moonwell Radio episode 2 next week with Rainmaker. Thank you guys. Everyone have a good day.